right, good morning, everybody. See a few faces here. So, hey, quick roll call here. Missing a few. Hopefully they'll be dropping in soon. Can you guys hear me okay? That's the first question. Okay. All right. Now, second, if I'm going to practice sharing my screen. I just want, before we get into class, make sure that I'm doing it right because I haven't used this computer setup for screen sharing yet. So can you guys see and hear a YouTube video playing right now? Yes? Okay, great. Awesome. What happens? Did that YouTube video just disappear or can you still see it? You can't see it. No. Okay. All right. So by dragging it over there, now you can see it again. Can you hear it? But you can't see it? That's so weird. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Can you see Canvas right now? Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So it has to stay on that screen. That's fine. All right. There's Caleb joining us. Present. Just kind of watching out for Noah and Joe and Jared. Okay. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and text those guys. Joe, Jared. All right. Class on Zoom via Canvas now. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully they'll be joining us soon. Let's just go around the room real quick, just so I can hear your lovely voices. Tell me what you did this weekend. Alyssa. I mean, don't tell me anything that if you tell me, then I got to report you to the authorities and then I become, or I have to cover it up or I have to pay someone off. I don't want to be involved in any type of, so filter what you say. Alyssa.
I just basically did homework. That's, I ate food sometimes, took a nap. I watched church yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Awesome. Max, what about you?
I did homework as well. Caught up on some assignments. Played a little bit of Rocket League.
Nice. What platform do you use for Rocket League?
I did it on the computer this time.
Okay. All right.
So
we got it on the
Xbox
Switch.
controllers.
So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Christy, what about you?
I slept and I ate and that's about it.
Okay. All right. Krista, how about you?
I also had a pretty chill weekend. Didn't do a whole lot. Did do some homework though.
That's good to hear. You got to throw that in. It's kind of obligatory. Like, and I did some homework. Okay. Emmy.
Kind of the same as everyone else. I slept, did homework, watched a couple movies with like my roommates and everything. And yeah, just kind of chilled out, ate.
Nice. Daniel.
I'm probably like a broken record. Pretty much just, I did have to work Saturday, but pretty much just hanging out. We're not doing too much. Kenzie got sent home Friday, so she hasn't really been able to go out and about much. So
yeah,
just been hanging out at home, talking to friends online and stuff.
Yeah. All right. Caleb, what about you?
I had drill this weekend, so all the fun packed activities that go with that, and so.
What time in the morning do you muster for drill? Do you guys call it muster?
No, first formation was 08 on 07 on Saturday, and then 08 on Sunday.
Okay, well, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. All right, Noah, what'd you do this weekend?
Mostly slept, did some homework, watched the Packers game. That's about it, really.
Yeah. Anyone watch the end of the Chiefs game? I mean, even if you're not a football fan, it was pretty nail biter exciting because of the kick. So for those of you that didn't see it, which is everyone but Noah probably, but I don't see anyone else shaking their head. So the Kansas City Chiefs, that's a football team. That's the sport where the ball is like a brown egg. Let's pretend it's a brown egg. They have this guy called a kicker who uses his foot to move the ball forward. But anyway, so at the end of the game, the Chiefs came back from being 10 or 14 points behind, whatever, tied it up, which is kind of the way they always seem to do it. Makes fans super nervous. So you have to watch all the way to the end. So they tied it up. So we went into overtime. They stopped the other team from scoring in overtime. So now they had the opportunity to score and win in overtime. They got most of the way down the field, but not close enough to score a touchdown. So with 2 minutes left, they had to kick the ball for a field goal, 3 points, and they would win the game. Now they had tied the game with a field goal in the last few seconds in dramatic fashion. So the kicker was already kind of the MVP of the end of the game. So now he has to kick a kick that's only 5 yards shorter than his longest kick ever in an NFL game. So the longest he's ever made is 58 yards. He had to kick a 53-yarder. Lines up, kick, and whoever scores first wins in overtime. So he kicked and it went right through, score, game over, except someone on his team committed a foul by holding someone. So they made him kick it again 5 yards further back. Now this is going to be tied for his longest kick ever in NFL history. No problem. He kicked in the Super Bowl. He can handle it. But it's tied for his record. It snap, kick. He kicks it in dramatic fashion. 58 yards. Score. Except the other team called a timeout right as they were hiking the ball. And so it didn't count. So now this is going to be his third kick, second one from his all-time record length. And if anyone was ever going to be rattled, it would be this guy, because earlier in the game, when he was kicking for an extra point at the beginning of the game, they blocked it. And that only happens maybe one time per season. So that would be very rattling. So snap, kick, gets it again, third time, and we won the game. So it was pretty, as far as kicking goes, a lot of games are lost by kickers. To have a game that was won by kicker was really a lot of fun. He tied it and he won the game. So he definitely really good. And he's very memorable kicker because his name is Harrison Butker. So like if you were to take the word butt and kicker and you put them together, Butker, that's how my family remembers his name. But anyway, hey, Joe, welcome to class. What'd you do this weekend?
I went to a cousin's wedding.
You got a lot of weddings going on in your family.
Yeah, I've been to 4, including mine.
Wow. Well, that's great. Okay, good. Okay, well, let's get started. So obviously this is a little bit of a different situation this week. We weren't planning on having to do class via Zoom. So I had already scheduled the next 3 chapters in How the Mighty Fall to not occur until October. So I don't want to change that. But I also can't do too much more with design thinking. We're going to do a little bit on Wednesday to review what we did with them last week, but we're basically postponing that for a week, which is just better for everybody. But we are going to continue on current issues, but I'm going to help you with your Wednesday reading summary. I hadn't assigned a topic yet, so we're going to work on the topic together this morning. So how many of you were in my class last semester where we did a kind of a current issue on Formula One racing? We talked a little bit about the teams in Formula One racing. Okay, so about half of you. So this won't be redundant. I have different resources for this, but I want to explain what we're going to do here. So I'm going to share my screen real quick here. Okay, so can you guys see Canvas right now? Okay, so I'm gonna click on this course here. So I added something. I've added this to other courses if you're with me, or maybe some of your other teachers use this, something under pages. So now in your navigation bar on the side, you'll see pages. If you click on that, I have all the resources that you need for this discussion today and for this the assignment to be able to do your reading summary. We're gonna watch these first 2 short videos, and then we're gonna talk about it. Back in the assignment section here, your assignment for this week, this due Wednesday, is RR number 5, the demise of Williams Racing. Identify the assigned topic, Williams Racing's demise, research, and I've already given you all the sources to be able to research. Write a 2-paragraph report, be ready to share a 30-second elevator speech about it. Okay, does that make sense, everyone? Give me a thumbs up. Good. Okay. All right, so I'm trying to make this a little bit fun and something that we're kind of all, unless you're just really big in Formula One, everyone's maybe neutral or even mutually ignorant of what's going on with this topic. So I think that makes it a little more fun. What I'd like to do is I'm going to pull up the videos. I'll just go back to pages. We'll just watch it right through Canvas here. Hopefully it doesn't break the internet. Okay, so first I want to watch a 5-minute video that just explains what Formula One racing is. So, because before you kind of understand what happens in this story, you got to understand just a little bit about the sport of Formula One racing. Okay, it has some similarities to any kind of racing, cars, trucks, motorcycles. Some things are very similar. It looks similar to Indianapolis 500 type racing or Indy racing, but it is a unique sport and it has some very unique things. And so this little 5-minute video gives a synopsis. Then I want to talk about that. Then I want to talk about the actual subject of our discussion. So let me pull this up. Let's see if we can make this big. Can you guys see the YouTube video getting ready to play here? Give me a thumbs up as soon as you can hear it, okay? Stop that share real quick. Okay, so Formula One racing, obviously it's a very complex sport, most popular racing sport on the planet, and it's really actually pretty fun to watch once you understand it. Does anyone know who the most famous driver in Formula One racing in history is? Does anyone know any Formula One racer that's driving right now? Anyone? Yeah, Joe. And I got a feeling you're going to say, yes, Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is the GOAT in modern history. He has a hard time losing. And it's partially because he drives for Mercedes, who happens to make the best race cars right now. They've been on top for like 6 straight years. And they outdo Ferrari, Red Bull, all these other teams. But some of the other teams are starting to kind of climb their way back up. There are other famous drivers that, if you ever flip through Netflix, you might see something pop up about them, like Senna, Senna. He was a Brazilian race car driver, super famous. Probably he would be like the historically modern history most famous. There's another guy, Fangio. I think he was Argentinian. He was probably the most famous guy in the early days of racing. But the different companies that put race cars out there, Ferrari, Mercedes, And then you have Aston Martin and some of these other companies. Honda puts engines in some cars and things like that. So now I just want to show you one character. So every team, of course, they have drivers, and the drivers are like players on any other sport. They might drive for a team for a couple of years, then move on to a different team. But usually the managers of the team are almost like the president of the corporation. They take care of day-to-day management. They are in the pit, helping control the race, but they also help sign the drivers. They're kind of almost like the CEO of every race team. So I want to show you now a different video. Let me pull this up here. Okay, so sorry you had to read the whole thing. Hopefully you were reading. So Frank Williams, he's a legend in the sport of F1 racing, and his car accident, he was leaving a race to hurry to get to the airport, and they were driving too fast in France, and it was a rental car, went off the road and just about killed him. And he is the longest living tetraplegic. I think he can only literally move his head, but you'll still see him in the pits every race. So with all this, I'm going to break you into two breakout teams here in a second, two breakout rooms, but this is the question. So what could go wrong? Obviously Formula One is as big as it's ever been worldwide. Even with the pandemic, it's not, it set it back a little bit, but Formula One racing is booming, right? There's billions and billions of dollars. They built some of the most amazing racetracks around the world. They're opening up races in new places they've never done before. Azerbaijan has a race now, and they mentioned Singapore and the other one. I mean, there are races everywhere. What could go wrong? The Williams race team just got sold after a couple of years, like at least 5 years of terrible performance. So without Googling it, you're not allowed to look it up. You're not allowed to read anything about it, but I'm going to put you into two breakout rooms. And I think in one breakout room, I'll have Daniel lead the discussion so you can kind of keep everyone talking. And in the other breakout room, I'm going to have Joe lead the discussion. But you need to collect ideas, and someone needs to kind of scribble these down, because I'm going to have you share these. So you're going to appoint someone. It doesn't have to be Daniel and Joe. You can pick someone else, is going to share these, and we'll go back and forth. What would lead to something that started out so successful and so huge and so much history and so many good things going for it? What would lead to it basically having so many bad years when other teams are having good years? If everyone was having a bad year, it'd be a different discussion. But just so you know, almost all the other teams are having great years. And even some of the other teams that have had a couple bad years, they never stay down. They always bounce back up, things like that. So you're going to have to be creative, think outside the box a little bit. What would lead to Williams Racing's demise? And you're going to come up with a list of these things. I'll drop into each breakout room. So let me create these breakout rooms real quick. All right, I'm giving them a second to kind of have their own discussion. Then I'm going to rejoin their breakout room here shortly. Good, you passed that test. I was checking the audio. No audio quality. No, just kidding. Okay, all right. Let's start with Daniel's group. Why don't you give me one thing that you're anticipating could have led to the demise of the Williams racing team?
So yeah, everyone brought up some really good ideas. One thing that, well, I guess we got three big ones. So I'll just try to pick one here.
Yeah, just pick one, and then we'll see if the other team has another one of your three big ones.
Okay, sounds good. So one that Christy brought up was having the right people, especially in leadership. The right people sold on the idea, and you came in and kind of touched on a similar idea where you talked about like drivers being stuck on themselves. There's a huge lack of brand loyalty there. So she brought that up, just people being sold on the idea, people being dedicated to it despite their personal gain and desires and whatnot.
All right. Okay. Let's go over to Joe's room. Joe, either you or someone from your room want to share what would be one thing you guys anticipate might be the reason?
Yeah, we came up with a lot of things, but I think one of the first things we came up with was just the idea of the hubris, like being prideful and complacent. And like once you have a lot of success, you don't want to change anything and you don't see the need to change. So then you get stuck in your ways, but everybody else is evolving and changing and becoming better at the sport. But since you have success, you're just looking at, oh, we already have it. We don't need to do better. So you don't change, and then you get stuck losing. And then once they're losing, it's hard to get back out.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let me throw this back out to both rooms then. So those are both probably two of the top things we would think would lead to the demise. And those are things that seemingly a leader would have control over. So how about someone from each room give me an idea of something that maybe they wouldn't have control over that could also contribute to their demise? Like give me something that maybe is beyond their control. It's a variable that they really don't have much control over, because that's the way it is in sport, right? You know, one player tears their ACL and they're out for the season. That happened to one of the best running backs in the NFL yesterday. So everyone's fantasy football teams are all thrown off because of that. But beyond his control, you know, he did everything he was supposed to do, tore his ACL. Now he's out for the season. Who knows? Could end his career. So what would be maybe something that would be beyond Williams Racing Team's control? And you can just unmute yourself and jump in.
Maybe if there was like a crash in the economy so that they can't continue funding their business.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that is, so F1 is a luxury sport, right? And so it only exists because rich people can put money towards it. You know, you know how many billboards you could put your name on versus a F1 car? I mean, you could probably put your name on every billboard in America for the price it costs to run one Formula One team. So they spend, I think Mercedes last year spent like $500 million. I mean, $500 million on one sport. So if the economy goes down, maybe the funding goes down, sponsors go down, stuff like that. What else? What would be another thing that maybe they can't control that would affect them? What? Okay, so let's go back to the little short video. What was at least one thing that affected them in the early days when Frank Williams first started the team? What was something that negatively impacted the business in previous days?
Well, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but they did have a crash and then he got hurt. So that's part of it.
Yeah. His number one driver, that basically in the early days, his team was very small but very successful. And the name of his driver was Courage. I forget the guy's first name. And he actually died in a fiery accident. And so it kind of ripped the heart right out of the team, right? So something like that is beyond their control. And that year, I think that was the year where they had like 3 or 4 deaths in that sport. So unlike other sports, people get injured, they tear their ACL, they get their teeth knocked out, you know, whatever, they get a concussion. In Formula One racing, people die. I mean, it's a whole different, probably why it's that much more thrilling to watch and participate in, because it's kind of the highest level of potential sacrifice. Some people are like, well, that's just crazy. Why would someone do that? But in the early days, their driver died and it almost killed the company. And then later on, Frank Norris himself almost died in a car accident, put into a wheelchair. That really hurt the company. So that would be another uncontrollable variable. Any others that you could think of that might affect a team and make them not as good as they used to be?
I think we kind of touched on it mildly with the economy thing, but honestly, just like thinking about sponsorship and everything, if somebody just decides to pull their sponsorship from you, whether that's because of the economy or just out of the blue, they want to go to somewhere else, something like that. I mean, if you lose your sponsorship, especially if it's a large donor, you lose a lot of your funding to make a better car, to be faster, to get more sponsors. So it's like, if you don't have that sponsorship, your car quality goes down, your ability to race well, therefore your ability to place well, and losing the ability to earn more sponsors. So, I mean, it can just be a downhill slope from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the leadership question, which was one of the first thing you guys brought up, a good leader needs to know enough to recognize when that spiral is starting, so you can try to pull out of it before it's too late, right? So in a leader's mind, you know, when you fly an airplane, you have an altimeter and it tells you kind of how high off the ground you are. And when you go below a certain height, I think it's like below 5,000 feet, an alarm starts going off in a passenger plane. Well, a leader should have an alarm that goes off in their mind when things start to go down and dip below a certain level. And for different industries, more volatile things, you know, maybe that happens a lot more frequently, ups and downs. But I think a good leader is there to be listening to that little alarm, not to be paranoid, but to be very intentional and focused so that that doesn't happen. Like, no one should be surprised that there are things that you can't control. So let me wrap it up with this. As you guys now write your paragraphs, I want you to read. I attached a couple of articles. You don't have to read every article, but you're not going to get the answer from just one article. And I attached 2 or 3 short videos. I'd highly recommend you watch those and read the articles so you can get the complete answer. Because basically, I'm going to be hardcore on grading this one since I'm giving you so much good stuff. So if you don't give me a really complete answer, you're not going to get a very complete grade. All right. So I'm going to be tough on this one. I'm mean. I'm oh boy, I just made my microphone bounce. Okay. So that's that. So, I mean, I want you to really dig in, because I'm giving you all this stuff. You don't spend any time searching for it. Just watch and read. And there is, I mean, if you're really like, you got time for Netflix has, they just last year put out a movie about Williams Racing. It's about a 2-hour documentary, and it goes from the very beginning. And with all of this in mind, if you're looking at it through the lens of leadership and organizational leadership, if you watch the Williams documentary, I think you'll find it very interesting. Okay, before we go, my final thing is I discovered something that's really cool. I don't know if it's just a recent update. Can you guys see that? There's so many cool things. Like, what's this? I don't even know. That's like, that doesn't even make sense. How about this one here? Oh, it makes me peachy. So I can, this one here, of course, that's something new. That's a new one. Oh, here's a kind of a French look, maybe. I don't really like it, unless it's French fries. You're a pirate. Arg. Oh, those are butterflies on my cheeks, I guess. Then I can do like a little, an old-timey TV. There you go. Or a 1980s television. So yeah, so there you go. That's my my gift to you. It's a gift of humor before you go. But that's all underneath the video video filter. They didn't used to have those, so that must be a recent update. So if you haven't updated your Zoom, you can have video filters and you can prank your professors if you like. So just don't tell them you got it from me. Okay, all right. I'll see you guys later. Some of you I won't see till Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Talk to you later.